I'm not really good when I'm in a room full of older people. I get a bit antsy or annoyed, I don't know, because they're not fast enough. I don't want to even confess to being old, you know. That's why I couldn't live in a home with, you know, surrounded by people who I have to go slowly for. And my mind doesn't go slowly. Still doesn't.
When you turn that corner at Young and Bloor and you hear the crowd and you see all the different faces, and every time I've been in the parade and I turn that corner, that is what does it for me. It just gives me more and more hope. I've been doing Pride since 1977 in various shapes and forms. So it's very important that people see me participating so they see themselves reflected in me. And it's also really important for younger folks to see that they can get to be this age and stage and still be activists. Hi, my name is Leslie Lee Cam, and this is my trusty mobility device, Robin. I'm a world majority person from Trinidad. I'm a Jurassic Dyke and a Rainbow Senior, and I'm 69 plus 1 years of age.
So which award is that?
Radio, ACTRA.
Do you remember what you wrote?
No.
No?
I don't know whether I remember any of these, actually. Let me have a look. That one, I think that was a radio award, and I can remember getting it because when they called my name out, I wasn't at all prepared. This woman came up to me and said, "Hello, Margaret." And I was at a time when I thought, be honest with people. And I said, "Hello." I said, "I don't think I know you." And she said, "I'm your agent." I'm Margaret Hollingsworth, and I live in Toronto. And as you'll see, I live near the lake. I'm a writer. I've been a writer most of my life, but not all of it. And I'm continuing to write.
He's quite the ham. My name is Ernie Pinn. I'm 57 years old, and I'm looking forward to retiring, probably in the next 2 years. I'm looking forward to spending more time with my wife Nancy. She's been retired for a few years now. We've had some conversations about the future when it comes to, I know a lot of other people they have children that eventually will take care of them in their older age, and we do not. So we have to make some decisions as far as what's going to happen to us when we do get older and we do need care.
I'm seeing a growing number of people in my practice who are, kinless, if you will, and for a variety of reasons. The people I tend to see are now in their 70s, their 80s, their 90s, and so sometimes they might just have outlived family members and friends, for example. But it's not uncommon for me to find people who may have immigrated here or grew up here, and they just say, "I just never got married." And I don't see that we have any concerted national or even provincial or territorial approaches in Canada that really kind of focus on people who are living on their own and could be a solo ager as well.
I've always been independent. I've almost always lived alone. I've had the odd person, man, partner, but, it didn't last. I would want to be alone, or they would. I didn't really decide not to marry. It decided for me. I don't think it was ever really a part of my future. It was just something that wasn't there. I wasn't interested. I mean, there were men around and I had them and they had me, but I didn't want children. I just didn't want that kind of commitment.
I think I was probably 6, 7 years old when I first realized that I didn't want to have children, that I didn't want anything to do with it. When my mother would say things, "Oh, one day when you have children," I was like, Mom, I don't want to have children. And that was my answer the rest of the way through my life. It never changed.
Did I think about having children? That's a good question. I may have, but what was stopping us back then was we didn't have the freedom. It wasn't easy for lesbians to have children back then the way it is now. And even though I have chosen family, it's still lonely sometimes. For straight seniors, they can depend on their children when they get older to take care of them. So we've had to choose friends who have become family members, who love us unconditionally. It looks just like one of my brothers, so it's family to me. It's like family.
There is still a lot of hesitation, a lot of pushback in accepting chosen family as a support network. I've heard a number of stories of folks where they were hospitalized or they were living in long-term care, and the folks that are closest to them, that mean the most to them, were not allowed to visit or not allowed to be there to support them because they were not a biological family member. While in some cases, organizations have adopted their policies, it's not a universal kind of given for folks, and that can be really scary for someone who is aging in the 2S LGBTQ community especially.
This is my parents on their wedding day. That would have been August 10th, 1963. Then there's one other photo of my dad here. I don't know how old he was. I'm gonna say he was probably around 20 years old. You know, my sister and I would take care of him when he was getting older and before he passed away. You had to go over and help him out with a lot of things, things around the house. My father lived in his house right to the very end. We've talked a lot about the finances of it, and that's the main concern right now, is you can hire somebody, but at what cost and who do you hire? You know, at least if it's family, you know, somewhat you can trust them right from the beginning, but when you have to hire somebody else to take care of you when you're getting old, it's a bit of a tricky decision.
I fell down a flight of stairs in 2024, so that's made me slow down. My posture has changed, my energy levels have changed. I'm not supposed to go up and down the basement stairs in my home, so I have friends who are coming in to help me tidy the basement. That's why I cultivate younger friends. It's a little bit selfish.
I've never had a community or a social circle as such, but I've started going to the church on the island. I started because I loved the island, Toronto Island, and I loved going there in all seasons and watching it all change. The other people who go there, I love them. If I want to, I'll socialize with them. 2 or 3 of them certainly help me. And I gradually built up a kind of community in that church. I always sit here and I watch the seasons change out of this window. There's something deeply tied with spirituality there. It's something very, I don't know, kind of sacred to me to be able to do that, to be part of it. I don't want to be seen as someone who needs assistance, although I do need help, and I ask for it when I need it. I think people may be right. I should be in an old people's home or something, but I'm not, and I won't, and I don't regret it. And maybe I'll die within a year, and I don't regret that either.
There's this one here, and then there's another one back there. They're from my dad's backyard.
Oh, yeah?
He had enormous lilac bushes, and so we managed to just go in there and dig some out, and that's a little bit of his backyard. As far as assisted living goes, I'm okay with moving into it, and so is Nancy. I'm not like my father in that respect. It's not like he was pounding his fist on the table, but he said, I don't want to go into a home. I have a home. I want to live in my house. So we did everything we could to accommodate that. And like I said, right to the very end, he was in his house. And a lot of us may have seen older family members have to move into some type of assisted living, but more so like a nursing home where it's toward the end of life and they're just trying to keep them going. There are much better places to go into ahead of time that will take care of you. And you don't have to do as much, but everything has its time. And I don't think I would not want to be pushed into that decision ahead of time, because then you might end up being miserable because you're missing things that you had before that are gone now.
Changing me and changing you. I don't want to be under somebody's aegis. I know that I have a friend who's in one of those places and they're not even allowed to choose or take their own medications. I don't want that. I want to have control.
I ended up in a long-term care home, which was interesting for me because I educate people on what happens in long-term care homes. But I had only seen a long-term care home from the lobby area and just going to visit somebody in their room. I had not actually lived in a long-term care home. So that changed everything for me. During the night shift, there were 2 PSWs based on their religious beliefs said to me, Jesus said that you're going to burn in hell. And they left me in my urine and feces for 5 months whenever they were on shift. And when I complained to the head nurse, she said to me, well, that's your problem. You should have kept your mouth shut, and then this wouldn't be happening. So instead of holding them accountable, she put it back on me.
The system as it stands is that baseline, the assumption that everybody is cisgender, everybody is heterosexual, and therefore everybody must fit into those boxes, and their relationships must fit into those boxes. And it's a cycle that continues to perpetuate itself, and it's all built on a system that isn't set up for all folks in an equitable way. And so if you're feeling like you need to hide aspects of yourself in order to receive care that is needed, that is appropriate, because you're afraid that if you do say something or you do share a part of yourself, whether you're queer or you're trans, and that impacts your care, to be afraid of that happening is something that I don't want to see continue. I want folks to be able to feel confident in aging with respect, aging with dignity, and feeling supported is really important for anybody.
I am alive, I survived, and I continue to thrive.
These are people who, in many cases, learned to be independent, learned to be self-resilient. Solo agers, by their very nature, are independent beings. And when you then have that fierce independence challenged with vulnerabilities where all of a sudden you can't do it all on your own, I think that's also a challenge that I have to negotiate with a number of my solo agers. People are looking potentially as being fiercely independent individuals in many cases to say, I've been in control of my life for so long, I also want to be in control of my ending as well. And that's why you may be seeing a greater interest in MAID or medical assistance of dying. Still, people would have to meet the criteria, but you could appreciate there may be a stronger motivation among solo agers in some cases because it's a way of maintaining control about the end, especially when you don't know, once you lose control, who's going to be advocating for you, who's going to be caring for you, and therefore this may be why some solo agers are more interested in looking at this earlier in their healthcare journey.
I mean, if I become so ill that I cannot manage, rather than go into a residence, no, I would take MAID. I've already got all the details about it. And that's okay. I'm 85, for God's sake. You know, I've had a long and an interesting life. And I'm so happy to have been granted that chance. So if I go, really.
For me, it was really important to get folks from long-term care homes and other Rainbow seniors who only go to programs and go back home, but wanted to be in Pride. We have 6 buses of Rainbow seniors in this Pride parade. Last year, we had 1 bus of Rainbow seniors. And that's because of the work that I've been doing to bring Rainbow seniors out of the closet and have them participate, because we haven't had these opportunities. We've had to hide for so many years.
We have fantastic advocates like Leslie who are continuing to call for change, to push that forward. And we're seeing more and more folks within systems starting to plant seeds of change. At the basic level, we need to start seeing people as individuals, as humans that are worthy of dignity and respect when it comes to aging. I think particularly within Canada, in countries similar to Canada, there still exists a lot of ageism, kind of writ large.
I find that doctors do not work well with old people if I'm an old person. They regard me as an old person. They think of me as geriatric. And I hate that word, and I'm not. I'm not. I'm an adult child. I'm me. They don't try and find out who I am, and they don't try and diagnose me. My own GP, whenever I go to him, says, well, you're old. And then I say, okay. And he says, and you're frail. And yes, I am. I'm frail in all sorts of ways, emotionally, all sorts of ways, but I don't feel physically. Anyway, you're old and you're frail. So I say, well, what can I do? And he says, nothing.
After a certain age, you're no longer seen as a viable human being or contributing to society. So you're sort of pushed to the side.
I'm not surprised to hear that there are many older patients who are not satisfied with the care they're receiving. I often think that our health system is often failing the care of older adults. We have close to 9 million older Canadians right now, and we don't mandate training in care of older people in our medical schools. And so you have an entire generation of medical students today, some who are lucky to get geriatric medicine training, most who don't.
We're living a full life, much as they are, and we really deserve to be treated with respect.
How do you see yourself at this moment in time next year when Pride takes place?
I hope I'm still here, driving the golf cart, yep, having fun and dancing.
I'm getting ready to slow down a little bit and just enjoy life.
It's been, I have to say, I've had many, many setbacks, but it's been a good life and an amazing chance that I've been given to live it, really.